Hey there, everybody. Trying to get Dave all situated, get his screens rearranged. So I think, are ready to go. Hope everybody is doing well today. We got lots of people still logging in. We're at like 1:59. I usually get about 60% of who sign up on average for the live event, because I know people are all over the place and have work and things to do. So lots of people get the replays. Before we get rolling with projects, I have two adjustments to your notes, and I will include this with the email that comes out from Zoom tomorrow. I will have it in there as well, so read that if you want the actual link. The font that I put in on the Memphis project, the first one we're going to do, the one that I clicked from DeviantArt is not a free version. Jean Malamick pointed that out to me. And so I found this one that is a free version. But as with a lot of the sites that have free fonts and things, you got to be careful what you click on, because there's lots of things that say download, and they're not what you actually want to download. So this is the box you want to click. It's right under the last photo of the font. So that's the one you're going to want to click on. And one of my favorite places to get supplies from, and I've worked with them and done webinars for them, Design Cuts has closed their doors about a week and a half ago. It was very abrupt. Apparently they've been having problems for a while. There's been a big downturn in that market, and they had to close. So they have been able to get a system set up for anybody who did not download their products who could do that. I spent most of last weekend downloading all of mine from over the last 10 years. So yeah, that took a while. But yeah, it's a real bummer. Tom, the owner, is very sad, I know. That was his baby, his first company that he started from scratch. So with that, I'm going to get rolling here. I only did 3 projects for this because they take a little bit longer, but I have a couple other things I'll show you at the end if we have some time. So as with a lot of the projects like this that I do, not always, but often, I look for things on Pinterest that I can use for inspiration pieces. So when I was trying to decide what to do for this webinar, these were some of the things I had saved on my Pinterest page, and I put them all on this sheet and just kind of to decide what I wanted to do. And we are going to be doing the Portland Lighthouse, my version of it, which is very different, the stairway, which is pretty similar, and I used this one down here. They did jazz, I did it more as a bluesy thing. And so that's what we're working on. And I have done something similar to this, and I'll show you that at the end. And I also did another kind of version with that. So that's where today's projects kind of came from. So with that, let's get rolling. So for our Memphis Blues, we're going to start with a blank file. So we're going to go File, New. And I did these all as 16 by 20s just so that if I wanted to make a print or a canvas or something down the road, they were already at the right dimensions. So we've got 16 by 20. This one is portrait orientation, 300 DPI, and a white background. So we're going to start with that. So yes, and our friend Pat Reck out in Arizona is on, and Pat is great at all these things, and she helps us all the time. She's also my backup when we do our conferences. So thank you, Pat, as always, for being with us. And Pat always has great answers to the questions. If I can't think of something fast enough, she's always on the ball and jumps right in. So thank you. We appreciate you. So I'm going to talk a little bit, too, about some of the pieces that weren't my own that I used in some of these projects. And the first thing, and somebody asked about that. What was it? I wrote it on here. Jean K. Asked if I would share my secrets to how I find the perfect piece for your composites. Well, it's not really a secret, but I will share how I kind of come up with some of this stuff. So I'm going to bring in the guitar. I did have pictures of guitars from like the Country Music Hall of Fame and a couple other museums, but they had so much crap around them. It was really hard to isolate them from the background. So this one I found on PNG Tree, and all this stuff is in the notes. And if you haven't gotten the notes yet, this is a good set to get. Because you get the notes, you get the images, the textures I use, and at the end are 2 pages of resources, a page of font resources and also brush resources, but a lot of those companies also have artwork and stuff like that too. So I'm going to stretch this out. I want to move it down. I want to angle it a little bit, kind of like that. And we'll make this bigger. I want to get that up to the top. So it's a lot of, play around, and I know I won't get it exactly where I had it the first time because that's pretty much impossible, but I'll come pretty close. I've got my finished one on the other screen too, so I'm kind of looking at that as we go. And you can always keep adjusting these as you go through the project too. So we're going to start with that one. And I did, I'm going to leave that at 100%. We're not going to do anything there. But now we're going to build our background. So I decided to do that before I added any other pieces to this. So this is one of my textures. And I'm just going to rotate this. And when you're rotating, I like to just use the curved arrow. If you put your cursor outside the corner till you get the curved arrow. And if you hold your shift key, it moves in 15-degree increments, so it makes it easy to get it nice and square once you rotate it and you're not kind of juggling it there at the end. And I like this one because it had the little bit of a vignette type border to it. And I did lower the opacity of this a little. So another good reason to have the blank canvas, the white in the background. So when we lower this, it gets it lighter. It doesn't just become transparent because then that doesn't really work very well. So the white gives us a nice background. Next, I'm going to bring in, this one is also one of mine. I'm going to stretch this out. And once I stretched it, I didn't really like it looked kind of squished. So I'm just going to stretch it beyond the canvas a little bit, about a couple of inches or so, so that it didn't look so squishy, because I didn't like that. This one we're going to change to a multiply blending mode, which will darken it. And then we're going to lower it to about 66%. Okay. And then the third one is this sheet music. This one, I think this was one I downloaded from Creative Fabrica. I have a subscription to them. I'm one of their affiliates. I've had it even before I became an affiliate. I've had their subscription for a while, and it's pretty inexpensive. And I just got an email this afternoon. They're going to be doing, I think it's all of February. It's either 21 or 28 days of February. They're going to have some of their freebies every day, like they've done in the past for the holidays. So watch the blog for that, because those will be in there. And they usually do lots of bundles of fonts and sometimes clip art and sometimes some crafty type things if you're into doing, like t-shirt type things and stuff like that. But a lot of these you can use even as, clip art for compositing. So we've rotated this, and I'm going to change this to soft light and lower this down about 49–50%, like there. Oh, good question, Sandy. She asked, how am I pulling in these images the way I am? I have a second monitor, so I'm dragging from there. When I add the next piece, I'll show you how to do that if you're only working on one monitor. So thank you. Good question. I usually say that, and I forgot today. So that's our base for now. So now I'm going to click on the guitar, because next I want to bring in the jazz outline sign. Oh, I also want to show you, I'm going to bring over this screen again. I have a folder. This is everything I looked at when I was creating this project. These are all our images from from Memphis. This was on a gate. I don't know if I still have, oh yeah, here it is here. This is what this actually came from, and that was a pain in the butt to get off of the background. And this one too, I did a lot of work on that to get rid of all the wires and things. You're going to see how we use this one. This is actually a PNG, and that's transparent. Sometimes PNGs show up with a black background for some reason. But I took out the sky and a lot of stuff on that. We're going to be using this, and I had to clean that up. So selecting some of these was not really an easy task. And then this was the guitar we just used, and this is my shot of Beale Street. All right, so let's take that back over there. So next we're going to bring in that sign. Good question, Linda. Would there be any advantage to converting these files to smart objects for increasing size? I don't generally for that reason. I don't find I need to. For that, smart objects are good if you want to do a lot of modifications to that image. It will kind of keep them all grouped to that image, but I don't always work with smart objects. Actually, I should say I don't often work with smart objects. But if you want to, you can. There's no reason you can't. I just tend to not do that. Is there a name? Sandy says, is there a name of the letter texture to look for? I'm not sure if you mean the music. I would have to look at, I don't remember. Like I said, I just looked for sheet music. I may have downloaded that one like a long time ago. I have a folder of different stuff. So if you're bringing in a part of an image, or if you're bringing in a texture or anything and you don't have a second monitor to drag it from, the easiest way is if you do File, Place Embedded, and then go to where that piece is that you want. In this case, I'm going to select this one. And it will put it on a separate layer, just as if I dragged it in. So it's already there. It's got the handles. You can resize it, move it. I'm going to drag that down here. And that's pretty much the size I want. So I'm going to leave it at that. I do have in the notes, we're doing lots of drop shadows on all of these. I'm actually going to wait and do them at the end to save time. And you can copy them though to the layers. So once I set it up once, then I can just copy it to all the other pieces instead of doing it each layer. That's kind of how I did it when I was creating this, was one at a time. But to save some time now, we'll just save that for the end. Yeah, and if you're Cindy and everybody, if you yes, Cindy, they're all recorded. You guys should know that by now. You've been watching me long enough. All my webinars are recorded. They're all on my YouTube channel. Please also change hosts and panelists to everyone so everybody can see your questions. And Sally says, how did I make the guitar look worn? That's the way it was. That was why I selected this one, because I liked that look. It wasn't perfect. So that's the way the PNG was that I downloaded. So I didn't do anything to that. So now we have our BB King. So we're going to put that about there. Leave that for that. Next, I'm going to bring in the Beale Street. Oh, I forgot my Memphis music sign. So let's bring this one in. And we're going to bring that up here, make that a little bit bigger. I rotated it just a little bit up off the edge of here. Again, you can continue to move and size these as you go. You don't have to have it perfectly in the beginning. I know I do a lot of juggling and moving as I work on things like this. And it's a whole lot easier to do this now because I've already done it before, and for like you guys to practice with it, you already have all the pieces, but feel free to, make your own version. Take these pieces and see what you come up with. What's that, dear? Yeah, if you want to share with me, I love to see if you come up with a different version. It's always cool to see what other people think and do. All right, so we've got our Beale Street. And then I decided to use that shot of the skyline based on that, sample or inspiration piece. You can see there's like a skyline on here. So I kind of wanted to recreate that with one of my shots. Like I said, all of these are from our own images. This sign was Dave's. I think this one was Dave's. This was mine. That one was mine. And the skyline is Dave's that I'm going to use. So we steal from each other. We're allowed. So this one I also did some work too. It was at night, but I made it even darker. I really wanted the neon to stand out. Like I said, I took out the sky. I'm going to bring this down. I angled it just a little bit. And I want the blues to make sure that's on the guitar. Let's see. Yeah, I moved it so that this one part here was like off the side. I didn't really like that. And we're going to move it up just a hair. I think that will work. And this one I changed. So blending mode I don't very often use. And it's vivid light. And then I reduced that to about 47%. And then I liked the way it looked. I didn't like the sharp edges. I wanted to get rid of that. So what I want to do, I'm going to bring the guitar up under that because I want to clip this layer to the guitar. So anything that's off of the guitar will go away. So it's just like when we clip an adjustment to a layer. I'm going to hold down my Alt or Option on a Mac key, put my cursor between the layers till you get that little down arrow with the square symbol, and click. So now this layer is clipped to that layer, and you can see anything that wasn't on the guitar, on this shape, is gone away. So it's just like using a clipping mask or a crop shape that we've done in other projects, and it will take on that shape of that image below it. So then I wanted to soften up these edges because I didn't like the hard edges there. So I'm going to grab a brush and I'm going to come up here, and I used this one that I use for texture demonstrations is this Kyle Bonus Chunky Charcoal. It's under dry media brushes in Photoshop. And I made it about 1,000 pixels. I made it bigger. My opacity is 100%, so I'm going to add a layer mask to this shape. And then I'm just going to click around the edges and kind of give it a rough edge there. And you can do as much as you want or as little as you want. And just to kind of really make it look like a worn look on that guitar because the guitar already had the scratches and stuff. And you could further adjust the opacity if you wanted it to be lighter. You could do that. So again, play around. There's no right or wrong. It's what looks good to you. I might just soften that all up a little bit. And then the last piece is this music note. And this was a photo that I took. This was in one area on the sidewalk. They had these like the stars on the sidewalk in LA. They had these music notes with different people, and this is Hank Crawford, jazz legend. They had a bunch of these on the sidewalk, and I just took a picture of this one, and I wanted to kind of tuck that in there. And then I'm going to do all the drop shadows, and then we can do our type. So let's go to accept that. So I'll start with this one. So I want to add the drop shadows, and I'm going to double click in a blank area of the layer. The other thing you can do is click the FX at the bottom. I usually just double click over here. It brings up the layer styles box. And I want to do a drop shadow. So you don't want to just click in that box because nothing changes in here. You've got to click that line. You don't even have to click the box. So just click that line, and that will bring up the drop shadow control so that we can adjust it to what we want it to be. So for this, I'm going to leave it at normal. I want it black. I like an angle of 135 usually because it makes that light from the upper left to the lower right. And then the size of the shadow is controlled by these three sliders, the size and the softness. And 49, 42, that's actually the right ones. I remembered what I did before because I was practicing earlier. So we're going to say okay. So I want that same drop shadow on each of these pieces. So I'm going to right click, copy the layer style, and then I can highlight. I'm going to hold down the control key and click on all of the ones that I want it, which is all of these. And then right click, paste layer style. So now it pasted it to all of them in one shot. So I didn't have to redo it on each one. And then the last thing I want to do, I want it to be on top. So I want to set the word blues in the middle. So I'm going to go to my type tool. And I know I'm going fast because I want to cover a lot today. So that's why you get the recording. And I just noticed the BB got moved to the wrong layer. So we got to move that up. Because I moved the guitar. So I got to move this up top. There we go. Because I went on top of the guitar. And this too. I moved the guitar and I messed it all up. There you go. So now we're going to... Dave is singing behind me. Okay, so we're going to use the font, the Demonius Grunge, Demonius Line Grunge, and I'm going to change the font here, but sometimes the size doesn't actually change until you've typed. And this blue color is in your notes, and I took this color by sampling from this sign. That was where I picked that color from. So I'm just going to click because I'm going to rotate this anyway. So I did a cap B, L, U, E, and a cap S so that it would be a longer line. That's the style of that font. And the size changed back, so we're going to double click and change that again. I don't know why it does that, but it does. Yeah, David says, Pat will know. So I'm going to rotate this. Come on. I didn't want to make you bigger, but that's okay. I think because there's so many layers, every time I try and move this, it decides it wants to just be kind of a pain. I'm going to come back a little bit. There we go. So I want it to kind of be the same angle as the is that the neck, frets, neck, whatever. I'm not a guitar player. And I'm going to move it down kind of like that. And remember too, once you have your move tool selected, if you want to move things up, down, left, right, just a little bit, you can use the arrow keys to move it 1 pixel at a time. So this one's a little weird because it's at an angle, but you can still move it just a teeny bit. I'm going to see if I can angle that a little bit more. It's just not going to cooperate, but that's okay. So this one, I'm getting to that, dear. Oh yes, Pat says you can type in the angle too. If you happen to know the angle, you can do that. So I'm going to double click, bring up my layer styles. For this one, let me go to my next page. I did a few things on this one. So with type, I like to use the bevel and emboss. And what that does, let me zoom in so you can see it. It gives it kind of like highlights and shadows and gives it that 3D effect. So I do want inner, smooth. Yep, it's remembering what I did on the last time I just did this. So that's the right settings. And then when I do an outline, a stroke, and I want it to be this yellow color, 12 pixels on the outside of the letters, so it's not encroaching on any of the blue. Sometimes you want it to be, so if I did it on the inside, it's going to make your letters narrower. So, or you can center it half on the inside, half on the outside, but for this one, I just went on the outside. And then I also did the drop shadow, and I did 43, the 135, 49, 42, 46. Yep, that's right. And we'll say OK. And I'm going to do Control-0 back out of there. And then the last thing I wanted to do was to add one more texture to just kind of pull it all together. And I do that a lot of times with composites like this. Sometimes it's a color overlay, but often I'll use a texture because, hey, why not? Because I like textures. This one's also one of mine. Yep. And we're going to stretch that out. And we're going to do this at multiply. And then bring back the opacity to about 68. Out there. And there you have it. That is our Memphis Blues. See if we, what's that, dear? Yeah, definitely. Give it a try and send us your versions. I'd love to see them. Dave says, just one more texture. Yep, that would be me. And Pat says, the overlay texture adds cohesion. Yeah, that's what I was going for, is I really wanted something to just kind of tie it all together, you know, a little bit of color-wise and, you know, that little bit of, and this being gray, so it just picked up that light, you know, lighter grayish texture. All right, so let's close that one. So next up, open my next folder, we have our Portland, Maine headlight. So again, I'm going to show you the folder with all of this stuff that I didn't use. I had looked for, I wanted a map kind of like this that actually was Maine, and it had, you know, Maine here and Portland. I could not find anything anywhere that was that clean. So I started just downloading a whole bunch of different ones, and I ended up with these. And someone said to me the other day, oh, I really like this Portland, Maine map you have. I'm like, yeah, that's not really actually Portland, but it kind of gave it that look the way where I put it. It kind of looks like, you know, the point there. So these are the ones that we are using. And these are all from Creative Fabrica that I downloaded. So again, I'm going to start with a blank document. So they went with this real tall, narrow thing. My image, because I'm using the whole picture of the headlight, I wanted it to be horizontal. So we're going to just switch to horizontal and say create. All right, so let's see. So this one I started with that first map. So this one I kept resizing to actually remove this border. I put a different border on at the end because parts of this I didn't want, parts I did, so I just figured it was better to get rid of the whole border, and we're just going to do kind of that. So the compass is pretty much in the center, and go like that. So I just stretched it out to where I wanted it, and these are going to kind of get covered up too, which is fine. Yes, these are all from Creative Fabrica, and actually in the notes I also have my affiliate link if you want to go through there. If you purchase a subscription, I think, I don't know if they still have this special right now. It's usually like $4 or $5 a month, and you pay for the year, so it's like $40-something maybe, $50. It's not super expensive, and you can cancel it, you know, you just do a year, and you can download as much as you want, and this site has a ton of stuff on there. I have more things downloaded than I will ever use. Between Dave and I downloading, it's like, oh boy. So next I'm going to bring in, Dave said, don't tell Holly. We're going to bring this one. So again, let me open up my screen. I want to be able to see kind of what I did before here. So we're going to angle this, and I want to bring this one down kind of like that, I think. Be a little bit bigger. Yep. Okay, hold on one second. I think that will be good for now. So Pam asks, if when you're creating composites with so many layers, what concerns should you have if you're going to print on a large layout? It's really not an issue because I will save the TIFF file so that I have the layers if I want to play with it more later. But then once you just flatten it and save it as a JPEG, that's what you need to upload for printing. I've never had an issue with it. And I have done other composites that we've done with various clip art sets that we have used in the past. We used to do a lot of stuff with Rosie's designs, and she isn't creating things anymore. I think, didn't her husband pass away? And she kind of got out. Yeah, her husband passed away a couple of years ago, and she kind of got out of the business. But there was a whole group of people. We were testing some kits for them and doing samples that they could put on their websites. And we've done canvases of quite a few that we created. So I've never had a problem with printing. I use Canvas on Demand for my Canvas prints. I like their quality. Their pricing is good. Their service is great. The few issues I've ever had, they've taken care of very quickly. One time I had one of Dave's, it had a border and it was mounted crooked. I emailed them. Yeah, I'll put in my link is my affiliate link, babe, is in the notes, but that's okay. Oh yeah, got it. Okay, yes, Meredith, and I have lots of textures, of course. So they reprinted it, no cost, sent it out real quick. And another time I ordered a couple. I was donating to a fundraiser, and the little tab to hang it with was on the bottom instead of on the top. So I was like, is this something I can fix? They're like, oh no, we'll send you a new one. So the two that were wrong, I just put my own hangers on the back and used them for myself. Because they don't want the old ones back because it would cost more to ship it, then they can't do anything with it. So they're really, really good about that kind of stuff. All right, I'm trying to look to see where this one goes. I think kind of like that. Maybe I made it a little bit bigger. And again, you can, move, change. I don't remember if I left that here or not. I don't think so. But again, I'll move it later if I need to. So I kind of started with that. And then I'm going to bring in my shot of the Portland headlight. And I have obviously done some work on this and kind of made it specifically this color. This was an early morning sunrise shot, and it right as soon as the sun came away, there was a beautiful sky, and then it got really dark, or gray. No, I was by myself. This is when I went up for the PSA conference, and I went out myself one morning, and I was shooting this beautiful sky, and the people who were doing one of the bus trips to go out there, they were driving to it, and the sky was fading as they got there. There was no color left in the sky, so they weren't very happy. But I got great pictures. So as usual, you just got to be there sometimes. All right, so trying to size this, and I kept most of that water in there. Maybe bring that down a little bit. Try about there. And I did add a brightness and contrast layer to this, so I'm going to add the brightness contrast adjustment layer. And again, I only wanted to affect this one layer, so I'm going to hit the Alt key and clip that, so this adjustment will only affect the lighthouse and not everything else. And I just did a brightness adjustment about there. And I also added a hue and saturation layer. We're going to clip that. And I did a little more saturation. And it really kind of made it blend with the colors of the background, which I really liked. And then we're going to bring in a texture. This is one of mine. This is an oldie. This is just some grungy metal. And change this to multiply in about 36%. And then I wanted to put more of a light beam coming off of here, so I'm going to add a blank layer below the lighthouse. So when you add a layer, it always adds above the active layer. So I'm going to click on that to make it active and add a blank layer so it's in between. And I'm going to go to my brushes, and when I move it to the bottom, oh, I have it open, great. They actually have one that's called Lighthouse Beam in here, and the link to this set is also in the notes. This is from DeviantArt, which has a lot of, they have a lot of free stuff, but a lot of paid stuff, but this one is a free one. And remember too, with most of the free stuff, it's personal use only. So if you're doing something you plan to sell, whether as a print or a card or anything else, you need to get the commercial license. And most of them are pretty inexpensive. But so I'm going to do 600 pixels. I want to make my color. Where am I going here? F. Yes, yellow. Jake's like, yellow? Yes. I'm trying to find my spot in my notes. So I picked a real light yellow, and just going to put the back end over the light there, and if you want to click twice, make it a little darker. And we always want things on a separate layer, so if you needed to move it, because I actually should have that. Should that be above it? It says below the texture. Oh, yeah, below the texture layer. So it should be in here. And since I hit it twice, it's a little dark, so I'm going to pull back the opacity. And if you wanted to change the size, do a Control or Command T, and you could, stretch it out a little if you wanted it to be longer. And then we're going to add some type. So we'll go to our type tool. And we're going to use Helix Tightling. And again, the link is in your notes. This one's from onlinefonts.com. So we're going to choose the color 3E362E. And I'll type the size after because it'll probably not work anyway. So I'm going to type Portland, Maine. And then I get the check mark, and then I'm going to double click in here. I want my size to be, well, we're close, 75 point I ended up with. You can also, when you're on the move tool, you can always drag the corner to make your type bigger or smaller if you wanted to. And then I'm going to move this, and I'm going to angle it a little. Don't like that. Kind of moved it over here. And then again, I'm going to do some layer styles on this one. It was a very narrow font, so I didn't do the bevel and emboss, but I did do a stroke. And I want the color to be F8 EFD6. So a really pale yellow, kind of blend with the other stuff. I want it to be 4 pixels. So that's all we did in there. And then I have in the notes too how to, if you want to tighten up some of the layer. As you all know, or most of you probably know, I was a typesetter in my former jobs back before there were desktop computers. So you had to do manual kerning of letters, which is KERN, which you can control the spacing between letters. So if I wanted to between, let's see, you're going to open up, hold on, I'll get to that in a second, the brush. I'm going to go to my character panel, which you would go to window character. I have mine docked over here. And in this VA section, first I want to change from metrics to optical because sometimes that helps. So that kind of got some of them tighter, but like I want to do between this R and the T, so I have to go back to my type tool. I'm going to highlight the R and the T, come in this panel, and where this VA with the sideways arrow is, down here is where you can tighten the type. So I'm going to hit -75, and you'll see the R and the T are now much closer. And then I also did the O and the R, and I did that one at -50. So that's there. So that tightened them up so it's got even spacing, and you could mess around even more, but just so you can see how that works. The brushes were from Obsidian Dawn, and it's Light Beams Photoshop GIMP brushes. Hun, can you throw her out? She's being a pain. The cat is annoying me. Okay, so let's do a Control-0 and get back to here. So this is definitely not in the spot I want, because I don't want that showing above there. So we're going to come back down to that layer, and we're going to move this down. Because not that one. That layer, this piece, why does it want to keep dragging? I hate when it does that. I'm going to undo the auto select because it wants to select what it thinks it should select. So we're going to go there. Now I can move that down here a little bit more like that. And go back to Collage 1. And I also took down the opacity to about 90%. And then I also clicked down here. I used that same brush to get rid of the sharp edges, and I think I did that on this one because it's kind of in the middle there. Go back to that Kyle Chunky Charcoal brush. That one works good for a lot of things. Let's make it a little bit bigger. And then add a layer mask. Round black. Why is I have caps lock on, that's why. Like, why is the brush face not showing? And I do that sometimes. If you don't see the brush tip and you just see that like plus sign, it means your caps lock is on. And it was because that's what I was typing that face with. So I just kind of softened that edge a little bit too, so they blended together a little bit better. And you could do it to the other one as well. And then last thing I did, I brought the type below that texture, or you could bring the texture to the top just so it all kind of matched. And then the last thing, and this was one from one of Rosie's old kits, it's this border that I ended up using. And it's real faint, but it's there. And I did a multiply to darken it a bit and left the opacity at 100. And there you have it. That's our second project. So again, that was the Kyle Bonus Chunky Charcoal. That is a Photoshop brush. It's under Dry Media's brushes. Some people have a hard time finding it. You may have to look under Legacy brushes, although I don't think it one is. It's a newer one. It should be in that section. All right. Ooh, it's already 1/4 of. All right, let's move on. Do you want the edgy box part of the map by the lighthouse? Oh, yeah, I didn't even see that. No, I would definitely get rid of that. Yeah, I would go back and brush that too, or move this texture down like I did with that one. Thank you. I didn't even notice that. Trying to hurry. So yeah, you could definitely get rid of that. So I'm not going to save that. Here's my finished one. You can see how the original one, which came out a little better. So yeah, I don't have that there. I did have this one up here, and that's where I softened the edges. So I guess I could have left that one up there instead of bringing it down. But again, you can always go back and change it because you're going to save it with layers. So you can just go back, click that layer, and you can see there's where I got rid of the sharper edges by brushing around there. So yeah, it's all customizable. All right, so our third and last project. So for this one, I'll show you my folder. I created this stairway in generative AI. Because I had some stairways, but nothing was just really working the way I wanted it to. And the prompt I used is in the notes. I tried it first in Firefly, and I could not get it to not give me these kind of weird backgrounds here. So then I went into Photoshop and did it with the AI generative in there, and it started giving, and there was even more than these. These were, I saved some of them, but I didn't even save all of them. And this is the one I ended up using, and I got rid of the background, and then I actually I got rid of some of the background between the railings, which was a royal pain. And this, actually, I think I ended up using this one, but we'll see in a second. Let's go to our folder here. Yeah, I took them out up here, but down here they weren't coming out well, but with the background I used, it worked okay. So let's start with our new blank document. And this one is going to be portrait. So again, this was from this inspiration piece here, but I did my version of it. So I was similar on this one, pretty close, but a little bit different. So we're going to bring in our stairway. And I already cropped this, pre-cropped it from the original, because I wanted it coming off the side here and up here. I didn't want to see that top that just kind of ended. So I kind of pre-cropped this one for you. So now I went down here and I'm going to add a hue and saturation adjustment. And again, you can clip it. We don't really have to, but we're going to be putting things behind this, so I do want to clip it because I only wanted to affect this layer. And I just brought the saturation down minus 45. And I may have even done this afterwards. I don't remember. I put it first here in the notes, but we're going to start on our background. And okay, first we're going to do a gradient in the background. So I'm going to click a new blank layer, and we're going to click on the black and white circle and choose gradient. And it's just going to default to something. We're going to click in here, and whoops, don't want to zoom there. I want to scroll over here. I'm going to, I think this is maybe the one I created. I gave you the colors for the left and right so we could start with, I think those are the right colors. Let's see. Yep, this is the one I created for this. So I'm going to say okay. And because this was light to dark, when I came in here, oh, I didn't have to reverse it. It did actually go right. Never mind. Usually the dark is at the bottom, but this worked okay. So I added the gradient to kind of mimic the sky, the background that it had, in the one it created, but a little bit darker. And I did do a scale of 114, which made it a little bigger and brought that part down a little bit. And then I did angle it a little to 108.77, which made the gradient angle like from upper left to lower right, a little bit the way that line is going there. Let's say okay. And oh, I did reverse it. It helps if I read my own notes. There you go. Quiet you, because I'm in the lighter area at the time. Dave's being a wise guy. So we'll say okay. All right, so we'll come back to the background layer. So later. So first we're going to add some of our clouds. So what we want to do here, and again, there's two sets of brushes I use. One was from Brush Easy, and one is from DeviantArt. Each cloud I'm going to put on a separate layer so I can move them if I want to. So we want them to be above this. So we're going to go blank layer, go to my brush tool, Yeah, let's go down here, and I gotta find them. Here we go. So it's these two sets here. Clouds by S. Davis 75. That one is on DeviantArt. And Clouds by Mila is from Brush Easy, BRUSHEEZY, which is one of my great shots. Holly says, Dave, does she ever call you anything other than dear? Usually babe. All right. So, oh, good idea, Jane. She says she's going back to her Portland 924 images to play with. Yeah, that's what I did. Mine was back from quite a while ago. All right. So, yes, the brushes are in the yes, the links to them are in the notes. Yes. So I'm going to start with this Clouds by Mila. So we're starting up here, Cloud 415. And this is, their numbers on these are actually the actual size of the brush. That's their default sizes. So we're going to go, but I think I made that bigger. Let's see. So we're going to go above the stairs. And I know I will not get these in the exact place. So we want to make our foreground white. Yeah, that's way too small. So let's make that. So you're going to have to play. Because I don't remember what size I did them all at. No, I didn't put the size in the notes here. So this one, I kind of went, I think, over here. Again, it's going to be impossible to get these exactly the same. So I may just switch over to the finished one to show you the clouds. So that's a good idea because we're getting short on time and I want to show you a couple other things. So I'm going to go back to the background above this gradient and I'm going to finish the background and then I'll show you the finished. So all I did was add a couple textures on top of this. Again, these are my textures. Bring this one down. So this one I did. And we're going to change that one to overlay and left it at 100%. And then I brought in this dark blue. Oh, I got to hit the check mark first. Like Field of Stars. Rotate this. Rotate it, not squish it. And put that up here. Stretch that out. And this one we changed to soft light and left it at 100. So let me open the finished one and I'll show you how I did the tree and stuff. So the tree is my own image. The moon is my own image that I brought in. So you can see I did all these different layers of clouds. There's a lot of them. And then the moon I just put up there. And then there's another brush that from that same light beam set that we did the lighthouse one from to do that beam of light kind of at the top. And then I just brought in the tree. Where's the tree? In the background here. The tree I did I made it a black and white. So I did a black and white adjustment layer because without it, it was just like too much color. And so I made that a black and white. And the moon, I did a hue and saturation adjustment because it was a little too dark. So I just like brightened it up with that. Lowered the saturation and then lightened it. And then just did all these brushes. So it's a matter of really playing and just getting the different ones. You know, I would try a brush. Do I like this? Do I not like it? And you want to keep using different ones because you don't want them to all look the same because then it would not that this is a realistic picture, but you don't want the same clouds, repeating throughout. So different sizes, different brushes. I actually did use that one at that little size up there. The brushes again were
the notes are in there.
Yes, get the notes. One set is from brusheasy.com and the other from DeviantArt. And if you just search for cloud brushes in there, they're very long names, so I can't really list that right here. But yeah, I mean, this is a good one. Even if you don't always get the notes, this one will be a helpful one, and you get all these components so you can play. And so I want to show you one other thing I've done. So I mentioned
But of course she is.
What's that?
You're going to show them one other thing.
Of course I am. Don't I always? So I had done this one quite some time ago. Turn your microphone off. Okay. Just because it gets feedback. And my version was, it's a TIFF file with lots of layers. I did this, and it was a different background with the music and another texture overlay. And what I did was I took this butterfly shape and I masked it so it was actually like a negative. So I had this kind of blob of color, and here you can see the white butterfly is kind of what I applied there. And what did I do here? Oh, I used that to create the outline, that little black outline. And then I added this music notes brush, which I've used in other projects. And then I really like this, and I had done this for myself. And then a few years ago, before we moved, my friend that I've known since kindergarten opened a music school in town. And she was a teacher, and she also did repairs on instruments, and she did a lot of stuff with the town schools. So I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool to do something like this with an instrument, and you, instead of rainbow colors, use the colors of our local high school? So I did with a saxophone, and blue and white was one high school, and I had some I did with a red and yellow, which was the other high school in town. So I thought that was rather a cool idea, and I had some with other instruments as well. Didn't end up selling any, but it was still kind of a fun thing, and it was neat for her to hang in her store. So the colorful stuff outside of the butterfly is, let's see, it's this brush shape I created, and then I did a gradient overlay. So I did this rainbow gradient, and as a layer style. So if we go in the layer style, so you can add a gradient overlay right in here, and then it would only be on that shape. So that was how I did that one. So I just created this with brushes, this shape. I just used like watercolor brushes and created the shape, and then used this butterfly to create the mask to basically make a hole in there. And then I made a white version of the butterfly, and if I use the divide blending mode, the white goes away, and it just held that outline so it would show up a little bit better. So let's see if I can get you hang on, I'll get you the brush links for these two because they're long. Let me open my copy of the notes. Give me a second. And I'll copy them from there for you. Got too many different things open here. Let's see. Show you some compositing. Okay. So it's coming up. I'll copy it into the chat box if it decides to open. Where is it? Oh, there it is. It's hiding behind my other page. All right, over here. Too many things. So, and these are both free brushes. Copy, paste. So you can copy it out of the chat box. So those are the cloud brushes that we use there. All right, any other questions? Dave said, the last time I wore tuxedos when we got married. Yep, and that was almost 41 years ago. April will be.
Did everybody like the stairway one Hazel did? I thought it was really cool.
I like that one. I thought it came out pretty neat.
Someone asked you, does it still fit? Hell no.
It was a rental, so it was gray too. It was not black. It was like a grayish. No, it was gray because I had purple for the like a lavender for the girls. We had a small wedding, so yeah, I think we got all the questions. Thank you, Carolyn. Glad you like Portland. I just put it in the, oh, did I not hit, oh, wait, I didn't hit enter. There they are. Sorry, put them in there and didn't hit enter so that they would show up. Those are the two brushes for the clouds. And I think that covers it. And, oh, hi, Antoinette. I didn't see you were on. Okay, so yes, you can still buy the notes. They are on sale until, when did I say? I think sometime next week. Let's see, what's today? I think it's like the 9th or something. I don't remember the date off the top of my head. I think it's about a week from today. So you have, some time on that. And I'll remind you in the blog tomorrow, and everything will, the video will be up by tomorrow morning, and then I'll include some stuff in there for you. Alrighty, I think we got it. If you have any other questions, you can always reach out to me and send me an email, hazel@meredithimages.com. And thank you all for being here. I hope you enjoyed it. This was definitely the #1 topic in the survey for webinars by a pretty good margin. One of the other ones is adding textures. Surprise. I'm surprised for as many times as I do that, but people want to see more of it, so we'll be doing that again. And also creating black and white images with impact. So
Holly said, don't forget the early registration ending for the conference.
Yes, thank you, Holly. The early bird $49 registration for the conference ends Friday at midnight Eastern. And then it goes to $59. So be sure to sign up. That's February 22nd, 23rd. And all of that, of course, is recorded. You'll have 60 days to watch it.
That's the webinar. That's not the webinar. That's
the conference.
Yeah.
We have 8 speakers, 13 sessions over the 2 days. You get speaker notes, goodie bag. We have over $2,500 in door prizes and
discounts.
Yep, lots of discounts in the goodie bag. Some freebies. I always do a set of textures, and Liz Garrison, who's one of our speakers, has done some prompts for in-camera movement, which is one of her topics. So she just sent me that today, so that looks really cool. And she has some discount on one-on-one sessions. So lots of good stuff coming up. And I've already started booking people for our June conference, and I have Tony Sweet confirmed. So a lot of you guys I know are familiar with Tony. And he's actually down in the Smokies right now shooting, but he will be joining us in June. As well, Holly Linton, who's online right now, is going to be doing a session for us on Luminar and Neo. So we're glad to have her with us. And we'll be booking the rest of our speakers pretty soon. Thank you, Connie. Thank you, everybody.
Well, that's next. That's not the next one.
I will see you soon. What's that, dear?
That's the next webinar, not the next one coming for Holly.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's what I was talking about. Tony and Holly are in the June conference, which will be our second one for the year. And
hello to Connie and Bob.
I'll see you, Kathy, at Lehigh on Thursday. Sure will. And thank you, everybody. As always, I appreciate your being here. And I look forward to seeing you all again real soon. Thanks. Thank you, Dave. Let's see. Thanks, Hazel. Yes, most of this stuff can be applied to any program you can do layers with. So if you use Corel, you use Affinity, on one. There's lots of different programs. You can, anything but Lightroom that can do layers, because Lightroom can't do layers. So thanks again, everybody. Talk to you soon.